In the garage, we're going to run the concentrates through my rendition of Blue Bowl. I'm just going to call it my bowl, or my bowls. And this is one of them here. Okay, so I went and got these pans. I think there's still price tags on them. I bought some new from a store. It's a specialty store, has all kinds of things in it. And this is what the price was. Okay. Well, originally, before I found these, I was shopping around. Value Village is a place I go to for all this kind of stuff. And one of the places, except where other places are like this here place, dollar stores, novelty stores, things like that. So anyway, the first thing I found was this here. It's an Angel Food cake pan, and those other ones, I guess they are the same, that too, or somebody told me they're bunt bowls or something like that. I have no knowledge of exactly what that is, but anyway, the only trouble about this Angel Food cake pan is it's two parts. Okay. If you can't find nothing else, you could probably try to use this. It has a pretty good lip in the center to put a good bead of silicone around, and then you can plant that on top. But I recommend that you have a little bead of silicone around the sides too, and make it very smooth, because it has quite the groove in here. And if you leave that groove there, you put gold in here and gravels, everything's going to get stuck in that groove there. And, you know, with it being silicone together, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to wash your mold out of there, because there'll be sand and black sand and gravels and everything. Maybe a minimum of black sand, but there'll be other stuff stuck in there too, over top of your gold and that, and you're just to be wasting your gold. So if you have nothing else, maybe you could try this, but I recommend looking for one of those other pans, or even buying a Blue Bowl. They work fantastic. So my bowls, I have 3 of this type, and the center cone I made different heights from the bottom up. Okay, and also this little plumbing attachment here. Some of them I pointed level across, some I pointed slightly down in the bowl. I basically cut a hole in the bowl here with a hole saw, metal hole saw. Put silicone around each side along the spout here, and stuck it in there, just shoved it in there. Let it sit overnight, or you can let it sit as long as you want, but overnight did the trick with that silicone that I used. There's also a ridge here, a joint. I don't know if you can see it. There's a joint here. So I put the flow this way so that it wasn't going into the joint, it was going over the joint. And it seems to do very well. Some of these bowls have a slight leak. You can see there's a lot of pieces to it, you know, and that. So not a lot of pieces, just two joints, but some of them are not that great. And it has a very minor leak. And the way I have it over my basin and that, any kind of gold, fine gold or whatever that falls out, I always check my basin materials after, if there's any material in the basin. Most of the stuff goes into another bucket anyway, and I always check that to see if I've been losing any gold in the way I've been processing it to separate it from the other gravels and sands. So This one here leaks a bit. I marked it down. And the center spout or cone cylinder, like I said, I made different heights. And this one here is 2.5 inches from the bottom of the pan up to the top of it. And they of course come up something like that. And you have to cut it down to the appropriate height that you're going to try. So I have 3 of them, one set up inside, and they're all different heights. So this one's 2.5. This here one is 2 1/8, and by golly, it doesn't even leak, this one. That's a good deal. Like I was saying, I bought 2 of them at that deal store for $2.99, and one I found at Value Village for $1.99. So that was excellent. And I have 3 of them, and these are the pieces I cut off. I have a couple others I found. One is this plastic mold, and it's very heavy plastic. And this one here is about 1 1/4 inches from the bottom to the top of the cylinder, and it works pretty good. And this one I have quite a slope on the pipe going down compared to the other ones. So I tried different heights, different slopes of the water flow. I haven't fully tested them all yet, but I want to see how they affect the way they separate the gold from the sands in there. So you put your material in here, the water comes through, kind of does a cyclonic effect here, swirling around, and your gold, the material goes out through the top and into your tailings, and the gold stays in the bowl. Or in my case, my material is so heavy, doesn't want to climb over the top, at least the bowl that I have in the garage that I'm using for testing right now. It collects around the inside, so, but the gold stays, a lot of the gold will stay along the outside, so once the gold's cleared of all sand around the outside and gravel, then I'll use a sniffer bottle, in my case an eyedropper, and curl it together so it's all together, and then sniff it up and put it in my little gold container. In order to cut out those center cones, I use a Dremel. There's another name for these little tools, but Dremel is most common. There's little cutting attachments you can get for the end here, and you just. I learned from another video that you put an elastic down to the height you want to cut it at, and then draw a little line with a Sharpie or a marker, a circle around, and then you just use the cutting attachments, a blade, flat blade, and you just run it around. Okay. But there's a little bit of a drawback here. It's very hard to make it nice and level, like the factory one is. And so I'll explain what to do about that when we're in my garage there. We're actually processing the gold from the gravels and sands. Okay, one thing about the Blue Bowl, when you purchase, of course everything is perfect. You know, the distance all the way around from the cylinder to the outside of the bowl is exact. The cones always come up the same way, have the same slope. The top of them is exactly parallel or level with the bottom of the bowl. The sides, again, parallel with the top of the cone and the bottom of the bowl. So everything's perfect from those. This here, it's a little bit more rustic. A little bit off of here and there. But you'll see how it works. And you make up your own mind if it's worth it. And I say, I'll be conservative and say these bowls are even $5. And this attachment was $2. So we're looking at $7 for my bowl here, and compared to a store-bought blue bowl. It's quite a difference in your savings. Now, when I run this material inside, I run it through a little type of sluice, and it runs into a bucket so that if anything does get over the cone, any gold, I can test the little sluice there, the material in it, and see if I'm around the water too fast or whatever, and just keep changing things so that finally when I test that material in the sluice, if it's free of gold, no gold got through, then I know that's where I have to have my settings. For at least that kind of gravel and gold in that creek. As I say, there's different material and they all act differently in the sluice box and in these bowls. So I've seen videos of these things and oh man, it worked great. I don't know what they had in there. The material must be extremely light because it just washed away from the gold like it didn't even, like it didn't even exist there. Yeah. All in all, it all works the same. You adjust the water speed through the nozzles, and it all depends on what you're using. It's very flexible that way. Okay, so next thing I have on these, I want the water running around all over the bottom here and falling everywhere down off the edges, along with any gold that might have come through the top cylinder. So to direct the water so it goes right straight down, I got one of these things. I don't even know where I got it. Some kind of, came in a glass cylinder, like a drink or something, and it's even got a little bit of mesh in it, which is not bad. It helps filter out any gold that might get through there before it even gets to the sluice box. It also has bigger holes in the middle. So anyway, this here I just fit on the bottom with a pad, like so. Oops. So we got it. So, and then that helps. I guess you might call it a little drainage pipe. That helps direct the flow of the water coming out of the top of the cylinder directly down into the little sluice. Okay, I keep talking about the sluice and you're wondering what the heck is that. Well, get this stuff out of the way. I'll be right back and show you what I'm talking about.